Hello, YouTube. My name is Ellie, and I'm a non-binary person and a trans guy, for lack of better words to describe this. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time watching, hi, how are you doing? So I've been documenting my journey with gender for the past 3 years, where I've been taking testosterone. And recently, I have opened a GoFundMe for my top surgery. So I'm asking people to donate to help me get top surgery. And if you're asking for something, it's only fair that you put in some work. So I want to do my part for the community and kind of share my story, share my feelings, and my perspectives on gender. So today, I wanted to take some time out to talk about my marriage, my divorce, how I feel about the lesbian community in terms of dating and relationships in general. If I can broach so broad a spectrum with just one fucking video, let's see how this goes. Okay, so I want to start with Elliot Page. So Elliot Page is a really, really favorite actor of mine from way before he came out. And when he did, I was just absolutely happy because, first of all, he's exactly what the community needs. He's a trans, non-binary person out there in the public eye. He looks great. He has great activism. In a sense, he's a very good role model. Far, far beyond the Hollywood scene and the movie world. Like, if you look into his personal life, there's really like activism that he's done that's really significant. And I think if you're going to be a trans person in the public eye, and if you're going to be the first trans masculine person who's of real fame that's going to come out in this world, there really is no better candidate. I mean, this guy. Also, there's a few like silly points, like he's short. He's a short trans guy. I bet so many short trans guys have felt so like awesome to know that there's someone like them who who's famous, who's doing this, who's like, to know that it's a thing. Like, you can be short and transition and it's fine, or not like medically transition, but like be short and trans. So that's amazing. So Elliot Page came out. Umbrella Academy is the last thing that he acted in that I saw. I really liked it. It's super like relevant because they're going to shoot another season. So I'm like, I'm super happy. And then I found out, like, because I Googled him. I've never really Googled his personal life before because I don't Google celebrities that I like. I just appreciate their contribution to the artistic scene, but I don't go about trying to figure out who they are in their personal lives because it usually doesn't interest me at all. But with Elliot Page, because he's a transgender person, I was kind of interested in his story and I wanted to see if he'd shared anything more about it. So I went on Wikipedia and I read a little bit about him and I realized, the guy's married. And the guy's married to Emma Porter, and she's a dancer, and they had like a dance video that they put together, and it's in YouTube. I'm not saying anything that's private. And I was like, I felt very happy to know that a trans masculine person can transition while being married and stay married. I felt it made me feel very hopeful. Because it's not what happened to me. And then a very short while ago, because Google apparently monitors my searches, I got like a pop-up notice about like, celebrity gossip news that that Elliot Page and Emma Porter are actually getting a divorce. And I gotta say, I don't know anything about the guy's personal life, nor do I intend to, but I felt that. It gave me a bad feeling. And the reason it gave me a bad feeling, even though I know nothing about Elliot and Emma's relationship, and I wish them both the best, and I have no personal business with them, the reason I felt very sad when I realized they are getting a divorce, maybe it's the best thing for the both of them, and I wish them nothing but happiness. But for me personally, to once again see like a trans guy who started out in a gay relationship, transitioned, and then got a divorce, just really made me think that, oh shit, there's like this inevitable tragedy of of trans guys, right? If they're attracted to women. So I kind of want to tell you a little bit about my personal life. So I just came out of a 5-year relationship. 2 of those years were married. I think maybe it was just a year and a half. Anyways, I met my ex back in Israel when we were both living there, and we decided to immigrate together. And as part of that immigration, I mean, we were a couple anyways, and we were a good, strong couple, and we wanted to stay together, but part of that was getting married so that the paperwork could work out for me to join her here in Europe. So we went to Denmark and we got married, and we came because it's illegal in our country. And we came back and we had a huge party and the whole family was there. And I had this terrible feeling in my gut, like, this isn't going to last. And I didn't know why, but I had like this feeling like I was lying to my family, and like everybody there was just, being taken advantage of. And it was because like I had like this deep, profound feeling that this was going to end soon. And it's not because me and my wife were having problems at the time. It actually wasn't about that. It's just that there was something in the back of my head that said, this marriage is not going to last. Anyways, we moved to Europe, and I'm not really going to say like what are the issues and the basis of our separation, but because I think they're irrelevant. The only thing that I do think is relevant is that my wife had dated people who later all transitioned. So like 4 or 5 of her ex-partners, when she dated them, they were women. And after they separated, all of these people turned out to be transmasculine. And I think 4 of them transitioned out of the 5, or maybe all 5 of them transitioned. And I began to transition while we were together. And I really thought that I wasn't going to fully transition. And when I say fully, what I mean is passing. I didn't think I would get to the part where I actually pass as a man. As in, I didn't think I would get here. Not because I couldn't, but because I thought I didn't want to. Which is a big part of why I came out as non-binary to begin with, and why I didn't think I was a classic transmasculine guy or trans at all. I was just like kind of very insecure about this whole thing. Anyways, as the relationship progressed and as I began to take hormones and be very happy with the results, I also had to, on some level, recognize that my wife was not really on board with the transition. I mean, she would say she was, but only when I asked her about it. Like, never brought the subject up. She never celebrated anything that had to do with it. And I kind of got the feeling like my transition was something that she was willing to tolerate and not something that she wanted with me, which was a big deal for me. And when we separated, I suddenly felt very free to do a lot of things that I previously had not been able to do, like grow the beard and ask for male pronouns and generally start passing intentionally, which wasn't the thing before. Like before, I would kind of like let the world gender me as it wants to, and I would shave or pluck the beard, and I never stood up for the transition. I just let it be evident for itself. And I felt like there was this innate tragedy for straight trans guys Oh my God, straight is such a horrible word when I use it for myself. Anyways, I'm sorry, I'm going to change to an American accent because my mouth is bothering me. Okay, so anyways, and I'm sorry about the accent changes. It's just that when I speak English with a Hebrew accent, it's sometimes more comfortable and sometimes less comfortable. So if you have a problem, don't watch. Where was I? So there's like this innate tragedy to me about trans guys or non-binary people who are attracted towards women in these relationships, because on the one hand, being in a relationship that's loving, that's supportive, is really something that's going to help you get your feet under you and really help you feel secure in your transition. And on the other hand, you are with a woman, assuming that's a cis woman and a lesbian, that likes other women, which is what always used to be the case for me, because I hadn't really dated bisexuals. I had really only dated lesbians, and I was a big lesbian myself. I had kind of a big no-no on guys for the longest time. And when I did try to date them, it was kind of like to cross something off of a list. You know what I mean? So if you start out as a lesbian identifying person and you date another lesbian, and it's a good relationship, and they let you play with gender, and you start to realize that maybe you want to do some transition stuff, and you start doing them, as accepting as that person may be, if they really are a lesbian, you're basically in for a very troubled road. Like, I'm not saying that they'll definitely leave you, but it is what happened to me. And when I heard about Elliot Page getting a divorce from Emma Porter, like, my initial gut reaction was, she ditched him because he's transitioning, which is maybe not the case at all, but it is the hurt that I carry within me, you know? And now I am a cis and straight passing trans guy. And that is a situation so strange and beyond my comfort zone that I have not dated in a year. So my relationship with my ex ended a year ago, and in the past 11 or 12 months, I think it's a year. In the last year, I've had one date with one person. It was a very, very cute bisexual woman, and we had a great time. I'm not going to tell you any details about it because I think it's her privacy, but it suffices to say that I would love to have continued, and she just wasn't interested, so it didn't work out. But the thing that most attracted me about her, and maybe it's a good thing that it didn't work out, because that really shouldn't be like your main focus in a person, is that she looked very typically lesbian. Like, there was something about flirting with someone that kind of looks like the classic lesbian, you know, the short hair, the butch body language, a bit of the mannerism that's genuinely very attractive to me. But it was also very, very validating to still be wanted by someone who is part of the community of where I used to use, like, before transitioning, where I would feel like it was my space, you know, because in the lesbian community, I always felt like I knew the rules. I was very confident. I'm very confident around lesbian women, like I used to be, at least. I've always felt attractive to them, and they were always attractive to me. So it was kind of like a safe space to me. It was kind of like my comfort zone, my home, my home, my territory, you know? And it is a big loss to no longer be visible to this community. So I know that technically pansexual and bisexual women would still date me if they found me attractive, but lesbians won't. And while I still am a part of the queer community, I don't look like a part of the queer community. And I've been I have looked so queer my entire fucking life that the like straight passing and cis passing, actually I would give that a pass if I could. You know, if I could be genuine to myself and still look extremely gay, I would probably do that. The thing is that I'm not a flamboyant gay guy, and I'm not very feminine in my outwards expression. I feel good like this. I feel genuine like this. This is what when I wake up and I want to look good, this is what I put on. It's not drag. And this is how I like my beard, and this is how I like my hair. And I've had colors in my hair in the past more than anything to signify that I was still queer, you know? And what happened is that people thought that I was young or gay in a masculine way, in which I was attracted towards men, which is like, unfortunately, so far from the truth. I would love to be able to date men and to be a gay guy. You know, I would love that, just to not be straight. I really don't want to be straight, but if I pass as a guy, then I pass as a straight guy, and that's not even wrong. And the reason I don't want to be perceived as straight is because it is very equivocal to being an immigrant. So it's the environment that you didn't grow up in, that you don't know how to navigate, that you don't pick up on the cues. It's not second nature to you. It's a lot of learning. And if there's anything that you don't want to do while you're flirting, is learning how to flirt. So, plus, I am very critical of how straight culture and straight relationships go, because of what I've seen of them. They suck. And I know that's a big fat generalization, and there's straight relationships out there that are genuinely awesome, and straight people are out there that are completely like deconstructing gender and deconstructing roles and doing amazing things, and are totally worth the time and the effort, and are like, they could teach me a thing or two. And I know that there's an extent of chauvinism and misogyny that is built into some of the lesbian roles that I have been taught as a young lesbian growing up, because I grew up in the Middle East, and there is a chauvinistic vibe to the butch style of lesbian that I was, and that the people around me were. That isn't cool. I mean, like, sure, you get a pass when you're a woman to say and do things to other women that if a man did, it would just be outright, like, fucked up. Like, when and where I was growing up, it was cool for me to look at a woman for, like, basically stare, right? Because I was a cute girl, and there was nothing wrong with it. But if a man stared at a woman the way I used to stare, that would, like, be borderline harassment. Or I could say things that were overtly sexual and have it be teasing. Or I could touch people in a way that would probably be sexual harassment if I did it now. And I am acutely aware of that. I'm acutely aware that I can't continue with the same style of expression of my, affections or desire towards or attraction towards women without it being perceived as as not cool. And I don't want to be that guy. I really don't want to be that guy. And the reason I don't want to be that guy is because I used to hate those guys. I used to hate the cat calling and the mansplaining and like the inappropriate groping and the insensitive courting and all the rest of it. And it's just like, I am stuck having to be the guy that the woman I used to be would approve of. And that's a very, very narrow path, because the woman I used to be hated men because she was extremely jealous of them, which isn't a big secret. So I was extremely jealous of men, and I always thought, like, oh, if I had you assholes' privilege, I would be such a great guy. Like, I would be such a good listener, and I would be so modest, and I would recognize my privilege all the time, and I would check myself, and I would use my powers to the benefits of the world, which, well, isn't a lot better because you still think you're better than women, but that's a whole nother issue. So I used to really hate guys, and I was used to be acutely aware of the ways that they made women feel uncomfortable or inferior. And now I'm stuck being the guy who has to never do that. So when it comes to dating and flirting, uh, I don't know how to navigate that. I don't know how to initiate. I don't know if I should initiate. I don't, as a matter of fact. And the flattering truth is that straight women come on to me. At least I think they do. At least if they were lesbians, I would read it as if they were coming on to me. So I'm stuck navigating that. And I'd like to once again like pull up the immigration card, right? Because I am an immigrant. This is an experience I can speak of because I am an immigrant. I'm an immigrant to Europe from Mediterranean, from Middle Eastern culture. Okay, so I already live in a country where I didn't grow up in, speaking a language that is not native to me, that I picked up 2 years ago, which is Spanish, and the social codes are different here. You know what I mean? And to date a straight woman, which okay, I know I could end up dating like a queer woman or a pansexual woman or a bisexual woman. I know, but because I am so visibly straight passing, the odds of them hitting on me is kind of like there, and the odds of me hitting on them being as uncomfortable as I am with like exercising my privilege is also kind of low. So I kind of feel like they're inaccessible to me at the moment. And I hope that will change someday, and I hope it will change by me like somehow figuring out how to speak to these people without feeling so afraid of their rejection, you know? So dating or flirting or interacting with straight women who appear to be attracted to me is so hard because it is once again the feeling of immigration where I don't know the rules of the game, you know? And from what I've seen on TV, I don't want to play that game. I don't like the way typical straight interaction goes between men and women. I have no idea how to play the guy part in that shit. And when they play the woman part in that shit, I lose my interest. So to me, if a woman kind of like waits for me to call or says something that would make a straight guy chase her, I back off because it is the kind of dynamic that really, really, really is ingrained in me to just walk away. So I have fallen in love with a straight woman. Like maybe the first woman I fell in love with was a straight girl in high school. And she was painfully straight, by the way. She was gorgeous. She was a belly dancer. I'm not going to say her name, but it was like such a real, authentic first crush, and it went so wrong because she was so straight. And she ended up dating like my best friend. It's a sob story. We can go into it one day. So I fall in love with this straight girl, and she falls in love with my best friend. And I stay around because they're both like the most meaningful people in my life at that moment. When I was 14, I didn't know any better. And it was like repeatedly taking your heart and bashing it against the brick wall. So I learned the cold hard truth that when it comes to straight people, you just steer the fuck away from that. Like there's nothing in there but pain and rejection for you. So whenever the straight thing comes up around me, like whenever that flirting thing happens, I'm just like, look, I'm not who you think you are. I'm not a straight guy. And in the sense that I'm not a cis guy, in the sense that I don't know how to do this, in the sense that straight, whatever is straight, isn't for me. And I know that that's about as stupid as like thinking that the queer community isn't for me because I'm not visibly queer anymore, but it's the gut feeling that I have. So I have this aversion to everything that's straight, and then I had like these terrible straight relationships modeled to me throughout my childhood where my mother dated all these assholes who I think can be best described by the line from the musical Legally Blonde. And I do want queer points for that, being a musical whore. Anyways, there's a part in the song where the guy said, "I grew up in the slum, in the whatever. I grew up in the slums with my mom and a series of bums, guys who showed me all the ways a man could fail," which is exactly what happened to me. I grew up with my mom and a series of bums who treated my mom horribly and showed me all the way that men can really, really, really not be good people. So if there's one thing I don't want to be, is be like the guys that my mom used to date, who were all straight. Um, and and I have dated two straight women in the past. So one of them was a huge love of mine, and the other one was like a very good experience, but not one of the biggest parts of my romantic history. But the woman I did date, who until she dated me actually never dated women before, and I was a woman at the time, so I think it's fair to say. Um, she's like my mythological ex. So I have the woman I married and divorced from, who I spent 5 years with, who should be like the most important relationship in my life. And then there is this woman who I've been together with for like a year, out of which for 6 months we weren't like even in a good place. And somehow she's like the biggest love of my past, you know. She's like still like she's still like that, what the one who got away, you know. So she was straight before she met me. And when she left me, she said she missed being with men who had a penis. Like, she literally told me, "I don't want to use a sex toy anymore because I feel like it's a substitute." You know, and I just want to be with a man who can make me feel like a woman. Ah, the shade, the pain, the hurt. That was terrible. And of course, our intimacy died long before that. So we were together for years, out of which for 5 or 6 months we weren't even intimate with each other because she didn't want to. Apparently, because she wasn't satisfied with the way we were intimate. So that really sucks. And I have that in my head as kind of like, whenever I feel about dating a straight woman, I feel like, okay, maybe she would be somewhat attracted to me to begin with because of my pretty face, you know? And then one day she will turn on and say, "I don't want a substitute anymore." And I don't have bottom dysphoria. I'm not planning to get bottom surgery. If I ever use a penis when I'm having sex, it's going to be a plastic one or a silicone one or whatever they come up with next, you know, whatever's good. And I just feel like that's inevitable. That's a rejection that I'm in for if I date a straight woman. Now, just to conclude this sob story, I'm telling you this because I think that out there are people who feel exactly like me, who will feel better knowing that I feel this way. I'm not telling it because I need your help. I would appreciate your sympathy, don't get me wrong, and please feel free to express it. I do appreciate it. It would be great. But that's not the reason why I'm posting this. I'm posting this because I think if I feel this way, there are people out there who feel this way. And if I let them know that I feel this way, they might feel better or understood. And if there's anyone out there who is in this predicament, who feels like the queer community is inaccessible because they're so straight passing and they're so afraid of queer rejection, and And on the other hand, that the straight community is so inaccessible because they don't even know how to broach that, and they're so afraid of like straight women rejecting them because they don't have a dick. I just want to say, like, I get it. I'm there too. I understand. It sucks. And that's basically it. Much love to everybody. GoFundMe link in the description. Please donate if you feel like donating and you can. My love goes out to all of you. See you in the next one.